So why detoxification is important? I mean, you're basically controlling the catabolic phase, but this is also death. You're letting go. Death, you deaded something, right? So when we start to talk about, you know, Jesus, the symbol of Jesus as a dead man on a cross, you know what I'm saying? And this is basically a symbol of man. Man is dead, okay? And when you look at the sun is a giver of life. Humanity is more or less being a parasite rather than giving life. We're cutting trees down. We're polluting the environment, you know, backstabbing each other, all for an illusionary symbol of power, which we could consider money or fame or glory or status, which is all an illusion. The reason I say it's an illusion, because let's say if I was to live out in nature, right? I technically have all the space in the world where somebody would say, wow, that guy is homeless, you know, and I live in a mansion. But technically my space is bigger. Where do you live? I live in the world, while you live in a larger cubicle that, if you want to look at it from a deeper level, may have you under a more of an imprisonment, because you got to make sure you maintain this household. You got to pay certain people of maintenance to maintain the home. I don't have any issues with people who have properties or large properties or wealth or anything like that, because I'm all for that as well. You know, I play the game. However, I gotta play the game. I'm aware of the programs, though. I'm aware of the illusion of the inorganic things that were added onto this system. Okay, status, class, how much money, how much, you know, how much money do I have? It's like keeping a score, right? Energy basically is the manifestation of the physical energy is money, and money, when you have enough energy, right? That's power. That's why the person's considered a powerful person in society. If anything, they may have influence because of that money. Some people may have influence because of the people that follow them. They may have a lot of followers on Instagram, so they call them influencers, right? But these people, half of them are fans. And the reason they're fans is because this person is basically a spark. And when you have a fan and you fan a spark, it'll glow. It glows harder, right? So you're giving more energy and more power to that spark. That spark now glows. We're all stars. You know, that's why they call them superstars. These people have fans, and they're basically giving energy to this individual. You give fans, you know, the energy, you give it to an idea, a specific idea. It may gain a lot of popularity or fans, and it goes viral. You know what I'm saying? We use the word viral. All right. Now we have something that's gone viral, and it's called CV19, right? We got that going viral. And how are we utilizing that idea of that information, though? To our advantage or to our detriment? Because everything is starting with a mind viral thing to begin with, because everything's in the mind to begin with. Whether it's you following as a fan, or sitting there as a student, or you doing anything, basically following religion, which basically fans that idea of religion. And there's a lot of people following that, so that's basically a fan club of that idea. I've spoke to a lot of religious people, and most of them, getting into deep conversations with them, they can't answer half of the questions that I may ask them when I get to a really, really deep level. You know what I'm saying? And even just simply, like even when I ask about astrology, you know, what do you know about astrology? I don't know nothing about astrology. So, you know, they can only get to a certain point before they can't go any further than that. Then you start to ask them, well, then why do you believe in Jesus? And mainly and foremost, it's just because it was passed down by their parents or passed down through tradition to believe in that image. First of all, if you were never told of Jesus or any kind of religion, then who would you believe in? Where would your power be going to? You know what I'm saying? The same thing if money didn't exist, or like that idea of status and whatnot. What would you be chasing? What would you be living for? Now, you notice how I spoke in my previous video about sometimes we go so deep into this organic system, and I've always said that you can produce these chemicals within you first before you indulge in any kind of like psychoactive drug, right? I'm always all for that. And I disclaimer, I don't, you know, advocate any drug use, all right? Just making sure you guys understand that. But let's say, for example, I'm a bodybuilder and I want to get to be a certain size and whatnot, or I want to do something as far as a career goes. I may do steroids. I may do steroids if I'm an athlete and I'm getting paid, but I only get paid on being number one. So I may have to do steroids to get me there. You know what I'm saying? Now it's very monitored. Now you got USADA, you got all these things that basically monitor drug use, right? Because they want everything to be fair and plain. But like you said, I mean, like we said, right now when it comes down to competition, for us to be number one, we may try to cut corners by taking performance enhancement drugs. Spiritual people may try to do psychoactive drugs because they are trying to grab an experience much quicker that would probably take them 10 years to do it. You get what I'm saying? But think about this though. When you take performance enhancement drugs, there's always a consequence. You're using something to get paid and to get a higher status, let's say, because now you're going to be the champion. You may get more money. You may get more popularity and fame. But at the end of the day, there's always a little price to pay. Your endocrine system gets shut down. There's certain things that get shut down, or there's long-term effects that always happen from you taking performance enhancement drugs. But at what cost? Let's say, for example, it may be in the sense where you will never get to explore your body anything other than on a physical level. Let's say there's more to your body. Like I mentioned in my previous video, I somehow came out of body. I started having these experiences and it has me questioning, man, there's more to life than this. You get what I'm saying? You could look at the examples of Dorian Yates. Dorian Yates used steroids. He was one of the most popular bodybuilders, but he lost all that size. You know what I'm saying? Now he's like not even a quarter of what the size that he used to be. You know what I'm saying? So, but he's also more spiritual now. He's indulging psychoactive drugs and whatnot. And who is to say that he would have to use these drugs in order for him to be able to have these altered states of consciousness? Who's to say that he was not able to do it naturally because the system has been used a certain way? His mentality was used in a certain way to actually, thrive in a physical world. Now, you can zigzag back and forth. I believe in extremes. That's what humans are. Humans are the most extreme species on this planet. We either hate the most or we love the most. There's no sweet spot in the middle. And when you look at, for example, animals are not extreme. You look at animals, there's been examples put out there where, you can have orcas, which are, killer whales, and they'd rather eat seals than eat humans, and this is pretty interesting because when you look at, what are they actually eating? Do they look at what the seals they're eating as a higher type of quality food for them than a human? Who is to say that these animals that may eat a human may not de-evolve based on the level of mentality that we're in? Yeah, we're evolved in a lot of areas, which is why I say evolution may mean one thing to one person than another. Because I made the example of like the animals in the wild, right? You can compare a wolf to a domesticated dog. A domesticated dog is a domestic dog, right? And we don't look at it as a dog that's living in its, natural wilderness environment, right? So we would say, who's closer to evolving to being a more intelligent species on the planet? Would it be the dog or the wolf, right? But then again, when you look at, and we're the most intelligent species on the planet, but we are technically really not. We're actually the most de-evolved species on the planet when it comes down to what we actually really are. When you look at a wolf in the wild, they're basically on their over living. That's why when you see the word "sur" as the prefix over survival, they're basically in their over living state. All right, so they have all the freedom in the world. They have the entire forest, while a dog may just have just the cubicle that you live in, plus he has to take orders from a higher power such as yourself, right? But who does the wolf answer to? The wolf answers to nobody. The wild animals answer to nobody. They're just basically one with nature, and it's basically more or less like, it goes on the cycle of predator and prey, right? Over here, we're taught about equality, but are we really equal? You have people telling you what to do as far as like mandates, forcing you to go to schools to learn shit that really means nothing, to go to, follow a religion that really means nothing. So all these little things that you're told to do are basically enforced by a higher power, and when you say who is the higher power, you don't even know who the higher power is, because we start to say government, president. No, you are the government and president. But there's something behind all that that's really moving the strings along for these governments and presidents. The ones that really are in power are the ones you cannot see. Now, is that something external to you, or is that really you behind all this illusionary veil that you observe in your reality? When we talk about there's nothing outside of you. right? So you obviously live in a society where you're experiencing duality. You can actually master through non-duality how to be indifferent and neutral toward these living conditions outside of you. But how do you break this life cycle? See, because when you look at psychoactive drugs, right, they're basically having you, let's say there's somebody who's dying or they're on their deathbed. I've also seen accounts where they gave them a psychoactive drug and they were more harmonious toward accepting death, right? Is it favorable for a human to be in fear before they die? Is it favorable for a human to actually not even understand what death is before they die? Right? How can you understand life at its core without understanding death? So whenever you look at people who are taking psychoactive drugs, this is a death molecule in and of itself. You see, you produce DMT while you sleep, and sleep, as we heard, is the cousin of death, right? When you die, you produce DMT at a high level. Even more than just when you sleep, right? So why do we take these psychoactive drugs? It's to have the understanding of actual death, right? When you look at Jesus, Jesus is a dead man on a cross, all right? The Son is the giver of life. But what is the Son in actuality? What is the Son in actuality? See, because it's funny how I observe the forest or I observe nature or my garden, and the conditions underneath have to be totally different than the conditions up above. Up above, we can experience this acidic medium that we have as the sun, but underneath all that, the soil has to be in a cool, alkaline condition. So think about the human being. When you go outside in the sun, you basically depend on the sun hitting your skin, all right, within that acidic medium, but the conditions within you should be neutral base dominant, more toward alkaline, right? What does alkalinity aid? Hydration, right? The soil is cool and moist when it's cooler, is more hydrated. When it's dry and hot, then the soil is dehydrated. What does that compromise? The gut microbiome, right? But the type of foods we eat, it doesn't have to be a direct reflection, but the type of foods that we're eating dehydrates you. And then we start to experience these things outside of ourselves, such as like the pyramids, the Sphinx, where, they look like they may have had erosions of water, where water used to actually flow through there. Why is it dehydrated now? Right? Why are we experiencing certain things called climate change? We got to get that idea out of our head, because what is climate change? I mean, the climate changes every season, doesn't it? We go through summer, spring, fall. That's climate changes, right? But when we look at it as a whole, what the fuck is climate change? There was once upon a time where they were saying they were trying to block out the sun. But why are you trying to block out the sun? The sun is an organic object in the sky. And your body is designed to be in harmony with that glowing ball in the sky, because that glowing ball in the sky is you. The giver of life. What is the only main thing here that you can actually observe in your reality that gives life to the planet, where if it ceased to exist, you wouldn't exist here? Would be the sun, but the sun is you. The sun is there because of you. So all the stories that you've been told about history, how do you even know history really exists? How do you know that anything happened before you were born? How do you know that reality, or at least your world of reality, didn't start when you were born? But then you're living on certain belief systems of your past. What if the same way you have to let go of religion and let go of all the inorganic systems and just get back to nature? And getting back to nature is not going to live in the fucking forest. Getting back to nature is basically having an understanding that the bacteria and the viruses in the soil is you, and you are supposed to be touching this so that you can interact with these organic viruses, so that you can have a clear understanding, okay, of what you actually are here on this planet. Plane of existence. So you can't leave this planet, because that would be you leaving to another dimension. And just like I said, when you get up out of bed, you're in your third realm. For you to actually get out of body, you have to leave your body there, and you have to another type of whatever you want to call it. Okay, Your astral body is what comes out of body. You leave your body behind. It's kind of like a similar process of what happens during death. However, there's levels to when you get to the death phase, okay? So you still go through the temporary illusion of like how you would experience dreams, because again, I made the example. How do you know people actually look what people are supposed, like the way you see people here, how do you know that's what people look like? That's just a program. That's why what's behind that person. Fire. How do you know fire looks like this beyond this realm? We use allegories as to a person has fire, electricity. How do you know all that? How do you know all that looks like it does here? So you have a dream. You're basically having a dream about people, places, and things, but based on the blueprint of what you experience here in this third realm. What about beyond that? What happens beyond that? So that's why when you die, they might tell you, oh yeah, you may see your relatives and whatnot. And what are they doing? They're pulling you back toward a false light, right? Back. See, when you're in this realm, you're technically seeing in the dark. You're lighting up your reality, but why can you only see 0.1% of the color spectrum? Because all you can see is what you can see, whatever you've been programmed to see. But what if you start to actually say, no, I want to see more? And it's not anything magical that has to happen, or you don't have to go on a specific diet or anything like that. You just have to make the decision to say, I want to see more, and you can see more. It's just like if I get up in the morning, do I walk around with my eyes closed, or do I want to see my reality? Well, let me open my eyes so I can see my reality. So an enlightened person can see more, right? They may be a brighter individual as far as intellect goes, but they can also be a brighter individual from within as well, which is basically sometimes I've realized is that very little words would have to be taken to basically be an impactful individual. And that requires a lot of honesty, and a lot of us aren't honest. You know, we put on a persona, and I'm guilty of this. We put on a persona every day to interact with society, to make a video. How do I present myself? Do I present myself in a way where people aren't going to question, you know, how I look or what I'm saying, you know, where I live, what I'm doing, what I'm actually saying? Like, what does this message even mean? Why make a video? What's the point? You know, it's breaking down all the little layers about what you're seeing out here as far as what you would want to call reality. So anything beyond that, there's no thing. Can you see in that dark? Can you see in the dark? See, instead of following a light, right? Now you can see in the dark and you are the light. Then you follow, you're the light, so you don't have to find any light. Because if you're in the dark, you would need an external source of light for you to see in the dark. But what happens if you become the light and you can see in the dark because you become the light? You are the light. An enlightened light being. Light can be looked at in many different ways too, even the way we spell the word light. Light body, light weight, right turn, right? Let me be righteous. You're right. I have human rights. All these, and they're spelled exactly the same way. So that's why I dissect words. That's why I dissect words, because when we use words, automatic mental pictures come into your mind. Okay? Automatic mental pictures come into your mind. So how about before those mental pictures come in, you observe the word you're using first. And then figure out if that's why you're even living a certain way, because you're living on certain images. How you perceive life. You can actually see what's the first mental picture that comes in. And actually admit that you're programmed too. See, once you can admit you're programmed, that's when you can start to change the program. How can you change programs or anything about yourself if you think you know it all? You know what it is. Once you go within yourself, you start to know what is and what isn't. And then for you to actually live some type of life how you want to live it here, you have control. I mean, you basically can see, you say there's no thing, nothing matters. Everything is, but there's more to what you think you know. Then find out, I'm indifferent toward all this shit, right? Because I realize who and what I am. Religion is basically everything here. It's not just what you think of Jesus. You take a religion, and it could be your fitness lifestyle's a religion, because you have to eat, let's say a certain way, train every day at the same time, you follow a certain schedule. That's a form of religion. Religion, you keep holy the Sabbath day. You go to church every Sunday. You pray before you go to bed. I mean, I'm talking about break everything down. Tear it all down. Die. And then rise up again. We'll talk soon.